It was early evening in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The sun was low, casting long shadows across the sidewalk. The streets were mostly empty, just the soft hum of sprinklers and the occasional bark of a dog. 15-year-old Jalen walked with his backpack slung over one shoulder, football cleats tied together and hanging from his hand. His practice had run late, and now he was just a few blocks from home. He kept his head down and his hoodie off, like his dad always told him, "Don't give anyone a reason." Suddenly the low rumble of a car engine slowed beside him. A white and blue police cruiser rolled up, matching his pace. The window slid down. "Hey there," the officer called out, a smirk on his face. "What are you doing out here all alone, buddy? Lost or up to something?" Jalen looked over, cautious. "Just walking home, sir. From practice." The officer chuckled, like it was a joke. "Oh yeah? Practice, huh? Where's your team?" Jalen held up his cleats. "It ended late. I live right down the street." The cop squinted. "You sure about that?" He leaned out a little. "Let me see some ID." Jalen blinked. "I'm 15. I don't have one." That answer seemed to annoy the officer. 15. "You look older." Jalen's hands stayed at his sides, calm, respectful. "I go to Roosevelt High. My dad can." The cop cut him off. "We get a lot of kids like you walking around, acting like they belong. Just checking, kid. Don't get nervous." But Jalen was nervous. He'd heard stories like this before. The officer was still smirking, but his tone wasn't friendly anymore. And the street had suddenly gotten a lot quieter. Officer Marks stepped out of the cruiser, his boots clicking on the pavement. The air seemed heavier now, and the warm evening light couldn't hide the hard look in his eyes. "Let me see your hands, kid," he said, voice low. Jalen slowly raised his hands, showing he wasn't a threat. "I didn't do anything wrong, sir." The officer glanced around, like looking for backup, but the street was empty. "Where's your ID?" Officer Marks asked again. Jalen reached into his backpack and pulled out his school ID card. It had his picture and name clearly printed, Jalen Lawson. The officer snatched the card and studied it. "Roosevelt High," he muttered. "So you're on the football team?" Jalen nodded. "Yeah, I just finished practice." The officer's eyes narrowed. "You know, it's funny. I've seen kids your age hanging out at night, not going to practice, but causing trouble." Jalen's throat tightened. "I'm not causing trouble." Officer Marks took a step closer. "Are you sure? Because it looks like you're trying to sneak around. You're alone, no adult. That's suspicious." Jalen stayed silent, trying to keep calm. His heart pounded louder than his breath. "Have you ever been in trouble before, Jalen?" the officer asked, voice sharper now. Jalen shook his head. "No, sir." The officer let out a short laugh. "Kids like you always say that." Jalen's eyes flicked toward the officer's hand, resting near his belt. He swallowed hard but didn't move. "Sit down on the curb," Officer Marks ordered. Jalen hesitated, then slowly sat, careful to keep his hands where the officer could see them. The street felt colder now. The quiet was broken only by the officer's slow breathing and the distant sound of a car engine approaching. Jalen wondered if this night would end differently than any other time he had felt watched and judged. Just as Officer Marks was about to say something more, the sound of an engine broke the silence. A sleek black SUV rolled up behind the police cruiser and stopped. The officer's eyes flicked toward the new vehicle. His confident smirk wavered for a moment. A tall man stepped out of the SUV. He wore a dark suit and carried himself with a quiet power. His eyes locked onto Jalen, then shifted to Officer Marks. The officer straightened, suddenly less sure of himself. The man walked over calmly, and stopped right beside Jalen. "Is there a reason you're harassing my son?" he asked, voice steady but firm. Jalen looked up, surprised, his heart skipped. Officer Marks blinked, confused. "Your son?" The man nodded slowly. "Yes, Jalen Lawson." Officer Marks took a quick step back, clearly caught off guard. The man introduced himself. "Derek Lawson. Jalen's father." The officer's face changed. The mocking smirk disappeared, replaced by something more guarded unease, maybe fear. Derek looked directly at Officer Marks. "Is there a problem here, officer?" The cop swallowed hard. No, sir, just a routine check. Do you often stop kids walking home from practice? Derek asked quietly. The officer hesitated, then shifted his weight. Well, sometimes we have to make sure they're safe, or sometimes you make assumptions based on the color of their skin, Derek said, his voice calm but sharp. Officer Marks' eyes darted away, uncomfortable. Derek pulled out his phone and snapped a quick photo of the badge on the officer's chest. I'll need your name and badge number. The officer looked trapped, knowing this was no longer just a simple stop. Derek turned to Jalen. Come on, son. Let's go home. Jalen stood slowly, relief washing over him. As they walked toward the SUV, Derek spoke quietly, but loud enough for the officer to hear. You judged him before you even asked who he was. Officer Marks watched them leave, the weight of what just happened sinking in. The street was quiet again, but something had changed. As Derek Lawson opened the door of the black SUV, the air seemed to shift. Jalen climbed in quietly, still catching his breath. Derek closed the door gently behind him, and looked back toward Officer Marks. I'm Derek Lawson, he said again, his voice steady. Retired federal judge, now a civil rights attorney. Officer Marks stared, trying to mask his surprise. His confident stance softened, replaced by nervousness. The easy smirk was gone. Judge Lawson. The officer said, voice lower now. I didn't realize. You didn't realize, because you never took a moment to ask. Derek said. You stopped my son because of how he looked. That's not a mistake, it's a choice. The officer nodded quickly. I'm sorry, sir. It was just a routine stop. Derek's eyes didn't soften. Do you understand the danger in stopping a kid without cause, especially a black kid in this city? Officer Mark swallowed hard. Yes, sir. I understand. Derek pulled out a small notebook from his pocket and wrote down the officer's badge number and name. I'm filing a formal complaint. Derek said. This can't be ignored. The officer nodded, looking uncomfortable, but didn't argue. Jalen watched silently. He felt a mixture of relief and sadness. Relief that his dad had come to his rescue. Sadness that he needed rescue at all. Derek placed a hand gently on Jalen's shoulder. You handled that well, son. Remember, calm and respect can be your strongest armor. Jalen nodded, trying to hold back his emotions. As the SUV pulled away, Derek glanced back once more. You deserve respect, he said softly. Not because of who your father is, but because you're human. Officer Marks stood alone on the quiet street, the weight of his actions pressing down on him. For the first time he felt the real cost of his assumptions. As the SUV carried Jalen away from the street, his thoughts drifted to other times, moments when the world had made him feel small and invisible. Like the day at school when a teacher accused him of stealing a classmate's phone. Jalen had been shocked and confused. He knew he hadn't done anything wrong, but no one seemed to believe him at first. He remembered the hurt in his chest as whispers spread through the hallways, how even some friends looked at him differently. It was the kind of pain that wasn't loud but cut deep. Or the time a clerk in a store followed him around, watching every move, as if waiting for him to steal something. Jalen kept his head down, not wanting to cause a scene. His father Derek had always told him, son, people will judge you by your skin before they get to know your heart. It's not fair, but it's real. You have to be smarter, kinder, and stronger. Jalen admired his dad for fighting those battles in court, for speaking up when others stayed silent. But sometimes, he wished the world could see him as just Jalen, a boy who loved football, video games and hanging out with friends. He hated that sometimes people saw a threat instead. In that moment, looking out the window at the passing streetlights, Jalen understood something new. No matter how powerful your family, the struggle doesn't disappear, it just changes shape. And every day you have to face it again. The next morning, the quiet neighborhood woke to a different kind of buzz. Word had spread about the police stop, though details stayed careful and private. Still, the story sparked conversations that had been avoided for too long. Officer Marks was called into the police department's internal review. His actions were examined, and questions were asked about racial bias and proper procedure. It wasn't just a routine stop anymore, it was something bigger. The department announced plans for new training sessions focused on racial sensitivity and community trust. Officers were reminded that respect and fairness must come first, no matter who they're dealing with. Meanwhile, Derek Lawson didn't press charges against Officer Marks. Instead, he took the encounter to the public. At a city council meeting, he spoke about the dangers of racial profiling, the way it chips away at trust between communities and law enforcement. Every young person deserves to walk home without fear, Derek said. Every family deserves peace of mind. Jalen's story, told anonymously, appeared in the local news. It opened eyes and sparked debates among neighbors, schools and leaders. Some questioned their own biases for the first time. At school, teachers held open discussions. Students shared their experiences, some for the first time. Slowly, the walls of silence and misunderstanding began to crack. Jalen still faced challenges, but he felt a quiet hope growing. His father's calm strength reminded him that speaking up was powerful, and that change often begins with a single honest story. That night, Jalen looked out his bedroom window. The street where the police cruiser had stopped him was peaceful again, but he knew things wouldn't be the same, because one moment, one choice, had changed everything. Jalen didn't want to be known because of his father's name. He didn't want special treatment or protection. He just wanted to be seen, as a kid, a student, a football player, someone who belonged. But the world wasn't always ready to see him that way. That night, as he sat quietly in the back of the car, Jalen thought about what had happened. What if his dad hadn't shown up? What if he had been alone with Officer Marks on that empty street? It was a question that felt heavy and real. Too many kids like Jalen faced moments like this every day, being judged before a word was spoken, treated like a threat instead of a person. The story wasn't just about one stop, it was about how people make assumptions. About how those assumptions can hurt. And about the power of standing up, speaking out, and showing the world who someone really is. Jalen's journey wasn't over. But for the first time he felt seen. Not because of who was behind him, but because he was worth seeing. The question now is for all of us. How many Jalens walk our streets, waiting to be seen for who they truly are, and what will we do to make sure they are? Because respect, fairness and understanding shouldn't depend on power or privilege, they should be for everyone. And that is a truth worth remembering.